My stepmom stole $2.5 million from my dad and planned to murder him. I need to tell you something that still makes my hands shake when I think about it. My stepmother didn't just make my life miserable for 20 years, she stole $2.5 million from my father and then planned his murder. And somehow, I'm the one who ended up with everything. Let me start from the beginning. When I was 12, my stepmother Linda convinced Dad to ship me off to boarding school. She'll do better with structure, she told him with that concerned smile she perfected. What she really meant was she'd do better without me around. I spent every holiday break in empty hallways while my half-brothers posted pictures of family vacations to Aspen. Dad would call Christmas morning, always rushed, always with Linda's voice chirping in the background about brunch reservations running late. College was brutal. I worked at a coffee shop, a campus library, and did overnight data entry just to cover expenses. Dad's checks came with strings attached. Linda thinks it's important you learn responsibility, he'd say over the phone. Meanwhile, my brothers got monthly allowances that covered more than I made in a year. I graduated with honors and $52,000 in debt. My youngest brother Marcus dropped out twice, and Dad just bought him a downtown loft. Here's the thing that always got me, I looked exactly like Dad. Same dark eyes, same crooked smile, same stubborn chin. My brothers inherited Linda's side, all blonde hair and sharp features. But somehow, she spent 2 decades convincing everyone I was the outsider. Dad died on a Tuesday morning. Heart attack during his run. He was 70. I flew in for the funeral, sat in the back while Linda sobbed dramatically up front with my brothers flanking her like security guards. At the reception, she looked right through me like I was invisible. 4 days later, the lawyer called. "We need you at the will reading," Mr. Patterson said. Something in his voice made my stomach drop. "It's important you're there." I figured I'd get Dad's old vinyl collection. Maybe his watch. Something small that wouldn't upset Linda's apple cart. The conference room felt cold. Linda sat at the head of the table in toe black, diamond earrings catching the light. My brothers were on their phones, bored. They already knew they were splitting everything Dad had told them so. "Mr. Patterson cleared his throat. "This is somewhat unusual,"
Got the orange one?
he began, looking directly at me.
Yeah.
"Your father established a trust 8 months ago. The estate, including the house, all business holdings, and liquid assets, goes entirely to his daughter Maya." I'd never heard my name sound so loud in a room. Linda's head snapped up. "What?" "There are provisions for the boys," Mr. Patterson continued calmly. "College funds that were already distributed, but the bulk of the estate, approximately, worth $5.2 million, goes to Maya, along with full ownership of the company." The room exploded. Linda was screaming about incompetent lawyers, about Dad not being in his right mind. My brothers were demanding to see documents. I just sat there, frozen, while Mr. Patterson slid a sealed envelope across the table. "Your father left this for you," he said quietly. "To be opened privately." I waited until I was back at the Holiday Inn. Inside was a letter in Dad's handwriting and a USB drive. The letter was short. "You were never the mistake, I was. I let her make you feel unwanted in your own home. I let her poison your brothers against you. This doesn't fix what I did, but it's the only thing I have left to give. The USB contains everything you need. Trust no one, especially her." My hands were shaking as I plugged in the drive. The first video file was dated 6 months before Dad died. His face filled my laptop screen, and he looked thinner than I remembered. "If you're watching this, I'm already gone," he said. "And you need to know the truth about what she did." I clicked the next file. That's when I realized the inheritance was nothing compared I was about to learn. Dad was sitting in his home office, and the timestamp read 2:47 a.m. "I need to start from the beginning," he said, glancing at something off camera. "Before I married her, before you were sent away, before everything fell apart." He took a deep breath. Your mother and I divorced when you were 3. You know that part. What you don't know is why. I had an affair. A stupid, selfish affair that destroyed my marriage to the only woman I ever truly loved. His hands were clasped so tight his knuckles went white. I met Linda 6 months after the divorce was finalized. She worked at the law firm handling our separation. She was sympathetic, attentive. She listened to all my regrets about losing your mom. He paused, his jaw clenching. I found out 2 years ago that she orchestrated the entire thing. The affair that ended my marriage, she set it up. The woman I cheated with was her college roommate. They planned it together. My laptop screen blurred. I had to pause the video. The affair that destroyed my parents' marriage was engineered by the woman who then made me feel like garbage for 18 years. I forced myself to keep watching. I found emails between them going back 26 years. Dad continued. Linda saw me at a firm event. I was a junior partner, but she did her research. She knew I was married, knew about your mother's family money, knew I was being groomed to take over the company. And she wanted in. He pulled out a folder. Her roommate Sophie was hired as a temp at my firm. She pursued me aggressively. I was weak and stupid and flattered. The affair lasted 3 months. Your mother found photos Sophie deliberately left in my briefcase. My stomach turned. After your mom left, Linda showed up at my door with a casserole. Said she'd heard through office gossip. She was just being a good colleague. Within 6 months, we were dating. Within a year, engaged. He rubbed his face. She moved fast. Got pregnant with your brother almost immediately after the wedding. Then pregnant again 14 months later. By the time I realized something was off, we had 2 kids and she'd positioned herself as the perfect wife. But she hated you, Maya. From the moment we got married. She made that clear when we were alone. You reminded her that I'd loved someone before her. The boarding school, the lonely holidays, the constant criticism, I should have protected you. But I was a coward. His voice cracked. She was stealing from me the entire time. Small amounts at first, then larger sums once she figured out I wasn't paying attention. She has a gambling problem. I didn't find out until 18 months ago when a casino in Atlantic City contacted me about a $375,000 line of credit she'd opened using our joint assets. I sat up straighter. I hired a forensic accountant. Quiet, private. Turns out she'd been siphoning money for over a decade. Business accounts, personal savings, investment portfolios. She'd forged my signature on loans, taken out credit cards in the company name, even sold some of my mother's jewelry. The screen showed Dad pulling out papers. Total estimated theft over 16 years, $2.5 million. Not including her gambling losses. My head was spinning. No wonder Dad had been so tight with my college money. When I confronted her, she didn't deny it. She laughed. Said I owed her for marrying down, for raising another woman's daughter. She said if I divorced her, she'd take me for everything and make sure everyone knew I was a deadbeat father who abandoned you. He leaned closer to the camera. That's when I started planning. I sold off assets quietly, restructured the business, set up the trust in your name only. I made sure everything was ironclad. She can't touch it. His expression darkened. 3 weeks before I died, I told her I wanted a divorce. I had evidence of the theft. That I'd go to the police if she didn't leave quietly. He glanced away. She said I'd regret it. That I wouldn't live to see the divorce finalized. The video cut off. I sat there frozen. The next file was labeled, Insurance Investigation. I opened it. It was a report from a private investigator, dated 3 weeks before Dad's death. Subject has made multiple internet searches on undetectable poisons, heart attack medications, and life insurance payout timelines. Subject was observed meeting with Dr. Michael Cross, a physician who lost his medical license in 2019 for prescription fraud. Subject exchanged cash for unknown items. Recommend immediate action. Dad had known. He'd known she was planning something, and he'd documented it. But he died anyway. I clicked the next video. Dad looked scared this time. If you're seeing this after my death, and it's ruled natural causes, it wasn't. Look at the autopsy report. Check my medical records. I had perfect heart health. I was running marathons. No family history of heart disease. He was breathing hard. She's going to kill me. I know it. I can feel it. I've started documenting everything. What I eat, where I go, every pill I take. It's all in the medical log on this drive. If something happens, you'll know. The video ended. I found the medical log. It was meticulous. Every meal, every medication, every symptom with timestamps. The entries stopped the morning he died. The final entry read, 7:14 a.m. Took usual vitamins. Felt dizzy, heart racing. This isn't right. I pulled up the autopsy report. Cause of death cardiac arrhythmia. Natural causes. No toxicology screen performed because there was no suspicion of foul play. He'd been cremated 2 days later. Linda had pushed for it, saying Dad wouldn't want people gawking. The evidence was ash. My phone rang. It was Mr. Patterson. Miss Maya, I'm sorry to call so late, but your stepmother is contesting the will. She's filed an emergency motion claiming your father was mentally incapacitated. The hearing is in 4 days. After we hung up, I opened one more folder on the drive. For when she tries to fight. Inside were emails between Linda and her lawyer from 6 months ago, before Dad even died. They discussed strategies for contesting his will, claiming diminished capacity, arguing undue influence. One email made me want to scream. Don't worry. Once he's gone, we'll have the daughter declared unfit. She's unstable, no relationship with the family. The judge will give it all to you and the boys. They'd been planning to steal my inheritance before I even knew I was getting one. I spent the next 3 days barely sleeping. I hired a lawyer named Patricia Rodriguez, who specialized in estate law and fraud. She was expensive, but Dad's trust had provisions for legal fees. Patricia listened to everything, watched the videos, reviewed the documents. This is attempted murder, she said flatly. You need to go to the police. With what evidence? He's already cremated. The autopsy said natural causes. The investigator's report, the medical logs, the internet searches. It's circumstantial. And she's connected. She spent 20 years smoozing with judges and lawyers. They'll protect her. Patricia leaned back. Then we hit her where it hurts. The money. We prove she stole from your father, forged documents, committed fraud. We make it so toxic that contesting the will becomes impossible. The hearing was downtown. Linda arrived in designer black and pearls, playing the grieving widow. My brothers flanked her, both looking uncomfortable. The judge was a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes. Ms. Rodriguez, she said. You filed a counter motion alleging fraud and theft. That's serious. Patricia stood. Your Honor, we have extensive documentation proving Mrs. Linda Bennett embezzled over $2.5 million from the deceased's accounts over 16 years. We also have evidence suggesting foul play in his death. The room erupted. Linda's lawyer was objecting. My brothers were shouting. The judge banged her gavel. Order, Ms. Rodriguez, these are criminal allegations. This is a civil proceeding. Which is why we're filing a formal complaint with the district attorney's office this afternoon, Your Honor. But the fraud directly impacts any claim Mrs. Bennett has to the estate. She cannot profit from her own criminal acts. The judge looked at Linda, who'd gone pale. Do you have proof? Patricia pulled out a thumb drive. 16 years of bank records, forged signatures, emails discussing the theft, and testimony from a forensic accountant. Everything is documented. The hearing was postponed while the DA reviewed the evidence. That night, my older brother Ryan called. We hadn't spoken directly in 6 years. Is it true? He asked. Did Mom really steal from Dad? Yes. Silence. And the other thing, about Dad's death. I don't know for sure, but he thought she was going to kill him. He told me in a video. More silence. Marcus, and I didn't know about any of it. We thought you were the spoiled kid Dad gave everything to. That's what Mom always said. I paid for college myself. I graduated $52,000 in debt while you two got allowances and condos. I know that now. I saw the records. Dad kept every receipt. I didn't say anything. Did Dad? Did he love us? Ryan asked quietly. Or was it all just her? The question broke something in me. He loved you. You were his sons. He just didn't know how to stand up to her. And by the time he figured it out, it was too late. We should have been better to you. Yeah, you should have. He hung up. 2 weeks later, the DA filed formal charges: 15 counts of fraud, 11 counts of forgery, 7 counts of grand larceny. Linda was arrested at her tennis club in front of all her society friends. The news covered it everywhere. Her mugshot was on every local channel. She posted bail within hours, but the evidence was damning. The forensic accountant testified. The forged signatures were analyzed. The casino confirmed her gambling debts. Patricia filed a separate motion to reopen the investigation into Dad's death. The detective assigned was skeptical. Mr. Bennett had a clean toxicology screen. No signs of trauma. Natural causes. The ME didn't screen for everything, Patricia argued. There are substances that mimic heart attacks and clear the system quickly. The deceased's medical log shows symptoms consistent with poisoning. He was 70 years old. Ran marathons, had perfect blood work 3 weeks before his death, and whose wife was researching undetectable poisons online. There's probable cause. The detective promised to review it. The criminal trial started 4 months later. I sat in the courtroom every single day. Linda wore designer outfits and cried delicately into tissues. Her lawyer painted her as a dedicated wife and mother who'd sacrificed everything. The prosecutor, a woman named Helen Park, destroyed that narrative methodically. She showed the bank transfers, the forged signatures, the emails where Linda bragged about what she'd gotten away with. One email to her sister read, "He's so stupid he doesn't even check the accounts. I took $80,000 last month and he didn't notice. This is almost too easy." Another to her lawyer, "Once the idiot dies I'll have everything. The daughter gets nothing. She's not even really family." The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Linda's face crumpled. The judge set bail at $2.5 million. All her assets were frozen. The friends who'd surrounded her for years suddenly had other commitments. She spent the next 3 months in county jail. The DA finally agreed to reopen Dad's death investigation. They couldn't prosecute for murder, not without a body or toxicology results, but they could investigate. Under pressure, Dr. Cross admitted he'd sold Linda a bottle of liquid potassium chloride, telling her it was for gardening purposes. Potassium chloride in high doses causes cardiac arrest that's nearly impossible to distinguish from natural causes. The DA couldn't charge her with murder. The evidence was circumstantial, and Dad's cremation had destroyed any chance of definitive proof. But they could charge her with conspiracy to commit murder. The second trial was faster. The evidence was presented, the searches, the purchase, the threats, Dad's documented fear. The jury convicted her on conspiracy charges. At sentencing, the judge looked at Linda with undisguised contempt. "You married a man under false pretenses. You manipulated him for decades. You stole from him systematically. You made his daughter's life miserable. And when he finally found the courage to stand up to you, you plotted his death." Linda's lawyer started to object, but the judge held up her hand. "Even if we can't prove you administered the substance that killed him, the evidence is clear you intended to. You researched methods. You acquired the means. You threatened him directly." She adjusted her glasses. "For the fraud charges, I'm sentencing you to 13 years. For the conspiracy charges, an additional 16 years to be served consecutively. You'll be eligible for parole in 22 years. Linda was 54. She'd be 76 before she could even apply. She was led away in handcuffs, finally silent. Ryan and Marcus had cooperated with the investigation, turning over their own communications with their mother. Emails where she'd ask them to lie, to say Dad had been sick for months, to discredit me as unstable. They'd refused. After sentencing, we met at a coffee shop. "We're sorry," Marcus said. He was 24 now, working at a marketing firm. "We believed everything she told us about you." "She was convincing," I said. "That's not an excuse," Ryan added. "We were old enough to see what was happening. We chose not to." I sipped my coffee. "Dad left you both the college funds. She can't touch those." "We're not going to contest the will," Ryan said quickly. "You deserve everything. We wanted you to know we're not her. We don't want anything from you except maybe to know each other," Marcus said quietly. "If you're open to it. Not as brothers necessarily, but as people who shared a really messed up family." I looked at them. They had her coloring, but I could see Dad in their expressions now. "We can try," I said. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was a start. I inherited everything 6 months later. 5.2 million. The house, the company, everything. I sold the house immediately. A developer bought it and tore it down to build condos. Good riddance. The company was harder. Dad had built it from nothing, and it employed 60 people. I kept it running, hired a CEO to manage operations, and set up a profit-sharing plan for all employees. I paid off my student loans in one payment. $52,000 gone with a single check. Then I did something Dad would have liked. I set up a scholarship fund at my old boarding school for kids who needed financial help. The kind I never got. It's called the Every Kid Belongs Fund, and it pays full tuition plus living expenses for 20 students every year. I also established a foundation to help adult children of parental alienation, legal fees, therapy costs, whatever they needed. I'd lived it. I knew what it cost. Ryan, Marcus, and I have coffee every month now. It's still strange. We're learning each other as adults, trying to separate who we actually are from who we were trained to be. Marcus got married last year. His husband Chris is a social worker. Ryan's dating but says he's not ready for commitment after watching what marriage did to our family. I get that. I'm in therapy twice a week, working through 2 decades of being told I didn't matter, that I was a burden, that I was the mistake. Some days I still believe her voice instead of my own. Those days are hard. But I have Dad's videos. I watch them when I need to remember I wasn't crazy, wasn't wrong, wasn't the problem. "You were never the mistake," he says in the last video, recorded 3 days before he died. "You were the best thing I ever did. I just didn't fight hard enough to prove it to you. I'm sorry, Maya. I'm so sorry." He's crying in that video. So am I, every time I watch it. A year after sentencing, I got a letter from Linda. Her handwriting was shaky, unrecognizable from the perfect script on old Christmas cards. "I'm not writing to apologize because I don't think sorry means anything at this point. I'm writing because I need you to understand why." I almost threw it away, but something made me keep reading. I grew up poor. Trailer park poor. I watched my mother work 3 jobs and still couldn't pay rent. I promised myself I'd never live like that. When I saw your father, I saw a way out. And I took it. I orchestrated it. I don't regret that part. But you were evidence that I wasn't his first choice. I couldn't stand it. So I made you feel how I felt growing up. Unwanted. Less than. A mistake. I destroyed you to save myself. That's what it comes down to. I hope you find peace. I won't. I burned the letter that night, watched her words curl and blacken. She'd wanted me to understand her. Maybe I did. But understanding doesn't mean forgiveness. I'm 34 now. 7 years since Dad died, since my life exploded and reassembled into something unrecognizable. I live downtown. Nothing fancy, but comfortable. I still work managing the foundation and the company's housing projects. Ryan, Marcus, and I have family dinners once a month. Ryan's daughter Emma comes, she's 3 now, blonde like Linda but with Dad's smile. Marcus and Chris adopted a baby boy last year. We're building something new. These weird sibling relationships between people who grew up as strangers. We don't talk about Linda much. She's just a fact of our past. Last month, I visited Dad's grave. It was his birthday. He would have been 75. I brought flowers, sat on the grass. I paid off another round of scholarships. I said, 40 kids this year. Ryan's doing really well. Marcus is happy, like, genuinely happy. And I'm okay. Most days I'm actually okay. The wind rustled the trees. I'm still angry at you sometimes. For not protecting me, for being weak, for letting her win for so long. But I'm also grateful you did one hard thing at the end. You gave me the truth and the means to do something with it. I traced his name on the headstone. I forgive you. I said finally. Not because you earned it, but because carrying the anger was making me tired. I sat there for another hour. When I left, I felt lighter. The thing about trauma is it never completely disappears. It's always there, a scar that aches when it rains. But scars are proof you survived. Linda tried to break me. She spent 20 years calling me the mistake, treating me like I didn't matter, erasing me from my own family story. But here I am, running a company, funding scholarships, building affordable housing, breaking cycles that ran for generations. So who's the mistake now? Not me. Never me. I was loved by my mother. Loved by my father, even when he couldn't show it. Loved by brothers who found their way back to me. And I love myself. Finally, painfully, completely. I'm not the mistake, I'm the triumph. Linda is spending 29 years in prison. She'll die there, probably. She's been denied parole twice already. Too manipulative. The board said. No remorse. Ryan told me she still writes letters, blaming me for destroying the family, claiming she's innocent. No one responds. We've all moved on. Last week, a girl from the scholarship program visited my office. Her name was Emily, and she just graduated with a degree in social work. I wanted you to know, she said, that I used your story in a job interview. They asked why I wanted this job. I told them I wanted to be for other kids what you were for me. Someone who saw us as valuable, not broken. My throat tightened. You were always valuable. I just helped you see it. That's what I mean. You saw it first, before we could. That's the gift. After she left, I stood at my window looking out at the city. Somewhere out there were more kids who felt like mistakes. More families falling apart. More people learning that those who were supposed to protect them were actually the threat. I couldn't save all of them. But I could save some. And maybe that's enough. My phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. Dinner this weekend. Your place. I'll bring Emma. Marcus. Only if you don't burn the pasta again. Ryan. That was Onantim Dime. I laughed. We were becoming what we'd never been allowed to be. Siblings who actually liked each other. Another email notification. The foundation director. Another scholarship applicant accepted. Her name was Sarah. Her essay ended with, I don't want to be what they said I was. I want to be what I choose to become. Yeah, I understood that. I approved her application and added a note. Welcome to the family. Because that's what we were building. Not a biological family, not a legal one, but a chosen family of people who'd survived being told they were mistakes and decided to prove everyone wrong. Dad's will said I inherited $5.2 million and a company. What I actually inherited was a choice. I could be bitter, angry, broken. Or I could take the pain I'd been given and transform it into something that helped others. I chose transformation. Every scholarship I fund, every affordable housing unit we build, every therapy session we pay for, it's all transformation. Turning cruelty into kindness. Turning rejection into acceptance. Turning you don't belong into there's room for you here. Linda spent 20 years making me feel worthless. I'm spending the rest of my life proving that worth isn't something someone gives you. It's something you build day by day, choice by choice, kindness by kindness. And I'm building something she could never touch or take or destroy. I'm building myself. That night, I made dinner for Ryan, Marcus, Chris, and Emma. We ate slightly burned pasta, drank wine, and laughed at old stories that used to hurt but now just felt distant. Emma asked me to tell her about her grandfather. He was complicated, I said, lifting her onto my lap. He made mistakes, big ones. But at the end, he tried to make things right. He left us each other. Is that a good present? She asked. Ryan reached over and ruffled her hair. Yeah, sweetheart. That's the best present. We stayed up late, 3 siblings and our chosen family, building something new in the ruins of what we'd been given. And somewhere in a prison 3 states away, Linda sat in a cell, probably still insisting she'd done nothing wrong. But I had everything she'd wanted and more. I had peace. I had family. I had purpose. And I had myself. Turns out that was everything that mattered.